Hello everyone. Today we're going to be working on the site plan for East Ridge as a sample, and I'd like you guys to turn this in as part of an assignment. So here you see the floor plan that we've been working on. You guys should be at least here, if not even more refined, and we're going to go to creating a site plan. So by default, Revit should have a view of the site plan. And before I click on this, let me just kind of show you, as you know, the floor plan is showing you a view when this section box is cutting this model at about 4 feet, right? And so that's what the floor plan looks like. Site plan is when the section box is cut like in the air looking down. So just please be mindful of that. So when I click on the site plan, I'm floating in the air looking down. Let's take a quick look at the view range. And what is happening here is, that was my dog, sorry. What's happening here is the cut level is at 200 feet above the floor plan. The floor of the floor plan. You remember on the floor plan, it was cut 4 feet above the floor. In this case, they're raising the cut plate all the way up 200 feet in the air. And then they have the top of the view range also at the 200 feet mark. And the bottom is at 0. So basically you're seeing it from the floor of the first floor plan, the actual floor, and 200 feet up in the air. All right, so another thing I want you guys to recognize that you see how these elevation marks are really huge. That's because the scale is set to be 1 inch equals 20 feet, and that's kind of small. So we're going to raise this one to 1/16 inch equals a foot, and then it's still kind of small, but anyway, it could be 1/8. We can make that determination as soon as we place it on a sheet to see how big that is. I've already imported a sample of the the site plan so that because I'm going to trace it, and you guys are more than feel free to trace it yourself. Of course, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to scale it so that it's the real scale, actual scale. So I'm going to select this, go to scale, which should be at RE, I guess. And I'm just going to take 41.5. I'm just going to click here and click here. It's actually measuring like 20 feet. And then I'm going to stretch it out and type in 41 space 5. So that should measure about 41.5, which is about the right scale for us. In the meantime, we really don't need to see these things, so I'm going to hide them. Quiz, what is the shortcut that I'm hitting? It was EH. And then this ADU actually belongs right here, so I'm just going to use my keyboard to kind of get it close. All right. So I don't know whether I changed the design while I was doing the demonstration, but obviously the roof doesn't match perfectly, and it's okay. My intentions aren't for you to be 100% accurate. My intention is for you guys to draw, right? So this is what we're going to do here. I'm going to go ahead and pin this thing so that I don't accidentally select and move it around. And what I want you to do is I just want you to recreate this particular drawing. And in this case, we're going to use hatches and detail lines to recreate this drawing and not create a model. What I mean by that is, typically if this is a concrete floor, you would actually use the floor tool and actually trace. Here, I'm just going to do a really poor job of it, just as a sample. it goes, the concrete goes to this covered patio, and then there's some steps up here, so we want to separate that. And let's say we did, you know, I'm just going to speed it up here, and then we put a big old hole for the swimming pool. And then when I go to 3D view, let me turn off my section box. Then I have, you know, the floor. But you can see the floor is floating because I created on level 1, 8 foot tall, you know, off the floor, so I can go 0, and, you know, and so on and so on. The problem with this is that now I have to build this floor. I got to make sure that the level is correct. And, you know, I kind of fudged on this particular demo when I started the project with you guys, because this is actually about, if this is considered the first floor of the main house, I believe it goes down, this particular floor goes down like 4 feet, and then from here it goes down another 6 feet to the floor level of this house. So basically you got to get everything in 3-dimensional accurately, and you know, that's not the point of this exercise, so I don't want you guys to have to do that. And also realistically, this particular project, we weren't paid to draw this house, so, you know, I don't want to spend extra time drawing something that, you know, we weren't being paid for, and nor was it necessary. But we did have to create this drawing for the city so that we could so that we can show them what the site plan looks like. So this is a good example of just using hatch lines to create the drawings, but not necessarily spend the time doing a 3D model. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come in here. This is a property line around the corner. This is a pretty square property. So what we're going to do is you're going to go to the massing and site, and there's a property line tool, and we're going to create by sketching, and it's a square, so I'm just going to do that. I'm going to be pretty rough, guys. So now you can see the property line. Nudge it. You know, some of you guys that are super smart, you might say, well, why didn't you just draw it using a detail line? Because it's just like a drawing, and you can use like a, you know, hidden line and then just kind of trace it, right? And I could have drawn a property line just using, you know, using this tool, which typically when you're on CAD, that's what you would do. You would just draw a line. But the difference between that line and this line is that as far as Revit's concerned, this is just a line. I'm going to call it a dumb line for sake of our discussion. And when I say a dumb line, it's just a line. It doesn't know what it is and why it's there. It's just a line that I've drawn. And sometimes you need to do that. But in this case, this line, Revit knows it's a property line, so that when I tag it later, it'll tell me it's a property line and it's so many square area and all of that other good stuff. So this is an actual, like a Revit family component, if you will. Okay. All right, so let's go on and let's do some hatching. So again, we're going to go to annotate. We're going to go to hatch region, and you are going to trace, you know, the various shapes. So in this case, I'm probably going to trace right over, and excuse my little demo because I don't want to bore you guys with trying to be super accurate here. That's pretty wonky. All right, so of course, please be more accurate than I will. I went right, instead of like cutting this piece of pie and then doing another piece of pie, because I'm going to draw right over that, I just kind of created one large hatch. And I am going to So I don't have that kind of the grassy pattern here. So you guys are gonna import from the pattern files that I provided for you, and to make that a grassy patch. All right, but I won't do it for this demo because you guys should know how to do that by now. But what I will do is make this not masking so you can see through it. Okay, so that's how you create the hatch. This is just going to be a white hatch, but you know, this will be a good example. Let me do a concrete real quick. You know, hatches are not too picky, so you can overlap, you know, things. So let's just cheat, and let's just do a really poor job of getting this border. And I think this will be a good example for the masking that I didn't really explain. So let's just say, I mean, I really wouldn't do it this way, but I'm just doing it this way for the sake of the demo. And yeah, I'm just going to do it on this part. You guys will get what I'm saying. I'm just doing it for the sake of the demo. And I would actually take better care and not overlap things, and I would have probably make this concrete at this level, you know, at a different time so that I could actually draw in the stairs. But in this case, I'm just going to do that. And I just kind of, let's say that was a concrete pattern, right? Or I believe it comes with the sand pattern. Wow, it doesn't even come with the sand pattern. Let's load that in. Or I know they have it. So we're going to go to edit type, diagonal crosshatch. We're going to create a new pattern, and we're going to name it concrete. And to symbolize concrete, we're going to come in here. And this concrete with the little triangle, that represents concrete if you're cutting through the concrete and you're seeing the inside of that concrete, right? So you don't really want to use that when you're seeing the surface of the concrete. The proper thing to do would be to use something like that, which are just the little dot textures. So let's use that. And so we're going to use the sand concrete, and we're going to call it concrete as a hatch pattern name. And there it goes. And I kind of screwed up, but that's okay. You'll see why you shouldn't really take shortcuts. But let's also make it transparent so we can see what we're doing. And this part should be white. And so, and also, you know, I have concrete here. Let's say I was really poor and I kind of have this concrete texture bleeding into it. This is a good example of when you should be using like a mask. All right, so if you go to, okay, so if you go to region, you have the fill region and you have the masking region. What a masking region is that it just kind of covers the whole area with a blank sheet of paper or white sheet of paper. So I say, I mean, you should really clean it up. You shouldn't do that, but I could actually come in here and just mask that area. And it just kind of covers it up. Now another, like a user trick, is that this is the area that is covering up and it's not letting you show anything. But you can obviously see the outline of that rectangle. You can click that, go to edit boundary. You select all 4 of those lines and you say, I want those to be invisible. And then when you click OK, that line will disappear and you can't see anything. But you see how it took away all the dashed lines too, and all the dashed lines that are coming in here. So this isn't really favorable. I wouldn't do this, but I just want you to know that that command exists. And yeah, and there are times where you're going to want to use it, but you know, try not to use it. I'm going to delete it. Try to make your hatch clean and take the time and put it on the line that you needed to put it on. And actually, this doesn't look bad. but again, these lines do not exist, right? If I turn off the base image, which I will do right now, unpin it, element hide. You see that? Those lines don't exist. Again, how do I make them exist? Well, you have two choices. Either make the physical model, draw a wall, at a certain height, and it'll show up. Or this is a prime example of when you're going to use detail lines. Remember I told you guys are going to use detail lines quite often. And I'm just going to go in here and draw a detail line that is a medium thickness. And I'm just going to graphically. So this is where I mean, like, this is what you would do in CAD, like literally draw line by line. In Revit, we try not to do that, but there are cases where you want to do that because it's the most efficient way to represent what you guys are designing. So this seems a little painful, but it's really not too bad. And you just want to go in here and draw the individual lines that represent what that looks like. Let's turn this off. And you see, and then you want to come in here and you want to touch all these things up. Right, so I'm not going to clean everything up here for you, but try to make it look like this particular site plan as much as possible. At a certain point, you're going to probably have to move it off to the side so they can see it or trace it. So you're going to have to go back and forth, and it's going to take a little bit of time. But I definitely would like to see it very similar to what this looks like graphically. Okay, so this to be a different texture from that, and I don't care if you don't use the same texture, but I want to see the differentiation between the different zones of the house and the property. There's a couple of things. So that is your view port. This is your view title. That name comes from the name you give it here. This scale comes from the scale that you gave it at the site plan. We said we want an 1/8 inch. And you get the number 1 because that's the first view that we brought onto this sheet. So if we bring another view, it'll automatically get a number 2. So this view title, you could definitely reduce the line because that's kind of ridiculously long. And when you move this around, the view title goes with you. Okay. And now you can also move this view title to the center. And once you move it, you move the whole drawing and it goes to the center with you. Now, I did something that I didn't explain. When I shrank this line, I didn't click the, it would be logical for you to say, well, click the line and then stretch the line, right? And I don't know why Revit does this, but in order for you to stretch that line, you must click the view. Once you click the view, these little dots show up and you can stretch that line whichever way you want. Do not click the view title and try to stretch it. That drove me mad when I was first learning Revit. It just didn't make sense to me. Like, how come I can't stretch it? And then after a few internet search, I figured out that you have to click the view window. That actually opens up these little dots. I think it's super lame, but there you go. All right, so please do this part. Obviously, make the site plan look much cleaner than what I have for you guys. Don't worry about all the other annotations. We're going to add a few, but we're not going to make it look exactly like that site plan, at least not in this class. And yeah, so hopefully you guys are still having a lot of fun, and we'll see you guys in the next demo.